The day of the Lord's return will come suddenly. This reality was meant to encourage the church to persevere in face of suffering and not lose heart when members of the church died prior to Christ's return. Apparently, some in the church twisted Paul's words and distorted the truthfulness of his message. False teachers had deceived the church into believing that the day of the Lord was already at hand. As a result, some in the church had stopped working altogether and were waiting passively for Christ's return. Paul wrote his second letter to counter this theology and compel the church to active obedience as they wait for the day of the Lord. While Christ will return, his second coming will be preceded by a number of signs that had not yet taken place. Therefore, the church should continue to anticipate Christ's coming, though there would be an intervening period of time before the end would come. The faithfulness of God would guard his people during the time of this lawlessness that would precede Christ's coming. God had done the work to save his people, and he would continue to demonstrate his faithfulness by protecting them from the evil one. Thus, the church could live with confidence, knowing that while suffering and pain awaited, God's purposes would ultimately prevail. This confidence should embolden the church to steward their gifts and the time allotted to them to bring God glory. Rather than squandering the days in idleness, God's people should redeem the time in prayerfulness, worship, and meaningful service to one another. They should not grow weary in these good works because they know that God has called them by his grace, transformed them by his Spirit, and entrusted them with a mission to declare his glory to all mankind. Paul challenged the church to follow his model of missionary zeal, passionate proclamation, and fervent prayer in the time between the first and second comings of Christ. In doing so, they would be found faithful on that glorious day when Christ fulfills his promise to come again, and with his people rule and reign over a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells forever. When he comes on that day to be glorified in his saints and to be marveled at among all who have believed, because our testimony to you was believed. 2 Thessalonians 1:10.